After getting fired by the 49ers, Stephen A's favorite coach, Chip Kelly, told Fox Sports that he would consider a return to college if the opportunity presented itself. And Jay Glazer said he spoke to Kelly on Sunday, and Chip would also consider staying in the NFL as an offensive coordinator. Stephen A, what's Kelly's future?
Well, there's a dual reaction to this. Number one, I want to applaud him, and I also want to condemn him. I want to applaud him for being smart enough and decent enough to acknowledge that he has no business being a head coach in the NFL, and that being an offensive coordinator may be better suited for him. Although, watch out if you're a defense on the same team, because he'll have no regard for you whatsoever. You got to hope that the head coach will. On the other hand, going back to the NFL head coaching subject, he has no business being a head coach on the NFL level. He needs to go back to college football because he's somebody that clearly has not learned the error of his ways. And I also think it's a damn shame that he's in a position where he gets his pick of the litter, because I don't think he's proven anything. This is a dude that's fired and is going to walk away with about $15 million. He gets fired after with the penultimate game last season by the Philadelphia Eagles. In less than a month, he's got another job paying him $6 million, only in America. So much for that Rooney Rule. Then he gets the job in San Francisco, stinks up the joint, loses about 14 straight, during this season. What happens? Okay, you could go out the door, but you could take the $15 million with you. I mean, damn, Don King and Bob Aaron together couldn't have pulled this off. This is ridiculous.
Chip's agent.
But it is what it is. Chip's agents are doing a great job, no doubt about that. He needs to go to college, because what he does on the NFL level reduces his defenses to being sacrificial lambs. He does not look out for them. He throws them to the wolves. He has no regard for them whatsoever. And as a result, he has no business being a head coach, because he has proven he is purely a college coach who needs to be right back on the collegiate level, where the NCAA can sit up there and contribute to making him look bigger than what he is.
Question is, what is Chip Kelly's future? And the answer is, his immediate future is he's going to college. He's going to back to college. He's going to revive a bad program. They will have a high-flying offense, because you have so many extra bodies in college and they're kids and you can use them differently. It's more successful on the college level and has been successful. It has not been successful on the professional level. Once he revives that program, that'll go on for several years, and then he will find himself eventually, Stephen A., once again being the darling of the coaching world. And I expect at that point, he will get another shot as an NFL head coach. I think that there is a built-in bias toward a high-flying offensive coach. I'm sure that NFL teams that are struggling would like to convince themselves that they can not only win, but win in the most entertaining way possible. And if Chip goes back down and figures it out and revives a bad program, he will get another shot.
I'm sorry, you said the high-powered offense, high-flying offense? Chip Kelly's offense? 27th ranked 49ers offense?
Not, as I said, it has not worked on the
pro level.
It's Oregon, yeah.
On the college level.
All I'm saying is that, I'm talking about the reason why I'm not knocking you for it. I'm simply saying that is like a damn oxymoron. It don't belong in the same damn sentence. Because when we talk about Chip Kelly as an NFL coach, that has not been the case.
Right.
It's not been the case.
How about
he
college?
does not deserve. That's why he needs to go back
That's
there.
what I said.
He doesn't need to be in the NFL.
But people will forget. They'll hope that one day it can be transplanted to the NFL.
Because we have to move on, though. Yes or no? Do you think he will end up getting another shot in the NFL if he's successful in college?
No.
Okay.
Because I think the combination of that and the troubles he had with the players, I think that that's going to have a detrimental effect, and you got to take that into consideration.
All right, let's stay with the subject of college football right now. So the University of Minnesota has fired football coach Tracy Claeys. Claeys led the team to a 9-4 season in a Holiday Bowl, but came under fire for supporting a player's boycott last month. So athletic director Mark Coyle said the move was based on, quote, challenges in recruiting ticket sales and the culture of the program. Now, Minnesota players briefly boycotted over suspensions of teammates involved in a sexual assault investigation. Here's Claeys on his firing.
One thing, I won't be up here freezing my ass off, so y'all enjoy the weather.
Well, tell us how you really feel. Senior quarterback Mitch Leidner wasn't happy with the decision, telling our Brett McMurphy, shocked if any coach wants to come and work for an administration that doesn't support their coach. No one is happy with the administration right now. I don't know who would want to be a part of this program at this time. Stephen A., was this the right move?
It was the right move. this coach should have been fired. I have no problem saying that. And the reason why I have no problem saying that is because although from a legal perspective, the district attorney didn't, pursue charges. If I'm reading correctly from here, it says no players were ever criminally charged and the district attorney declined to prosecute because of lack of physical evidence. But a separate investigation by the university's Office of Equal Opportunity and Affirmative Action found that several players had violated the school's sexual assault and sexual harassment codes, and all 10 violated the student conduct policy. If the university that hired you comes to that conclusion, you don't come out publicly and speak on behalf of players who had nothing to do with this, who just want to stand up and protest to come to the defense of their teammates. They weren't there, not all of them. You couldn't provide an eyewitness account. Yep. So as a result, the players, first of all, should have never boycotted. But even in the event that you choose to, as the head coach, your number one obligation is not just to represent the players as a football coach. You're the face of the university and its football program. And to sit up there and to come out publicly decrying the university and siding with the players, knowing that they may not have had all the facts available to them, is the height of irresponsibility, particularly considering the seriousness of this case. He should have fell back and said, let's further investigate the situation, as opposed to saying, I support the players boycott.
Also in the wake of Baylor in the Arpaio situation and how that was mishandled.
It's a very aggressive thing for the University of Minnesota to do, to fire a coach based on a tweet that supports his players without acknowledging the accuser, because that's essentially what just happened. Given what's gone on at that place, however, recently, many, I'm sure, will applaud that. I mean, a lip service is paid to that whenever we hear about, it always comes down to due process, well, wait for the facts to come out versus wait a minute. Aren't we always saying we want to see really aggressive responses to sexual harassment and assault charges even? So that's here what this is. And people who are in that camp should be happy about how aggressive they are. And people who feel that it's become such a sensitive issue that even supporting the players without acknowledging the accuser can get you fired are not going to like it as much.
Well, I'm just saying he should not have come out so publicly on one side or the other. You're the football coach. You weren't there. The players who are protesting, because my biggest problem is that the players are protesting. Were you there providing an eyewitness account proclaiming their innocence? If that answer is no, then what are you protesting? What are you talking about? Due process wasn't granted. How do you know that? That doesn't make any sense. And as a football coach, there are so many holes. There are so many holes. All you had to do was fall back and lean on the administration. Because at the end of the day, whether it's the school president, the chancellor, the athletic director, you are a subordinate. Know your position and play it. Understand the players privately. This is what my situation is. I won't speak against y'all. But publicly, the university makes this call, not me. That's all he had to say. But to come out so publicly and conduct himself that way, it showed a heightened level of insensitivity to the alleged victim, okay? And it just seemed irresponsible and juvenile on his part. I think he deserved to be fired.
Yeah, in that interview, a little juvenile as well. I appreciate the precedent that the University of Minnesota is setting here.
The best way I can describe it is having a diaper on and never changing it and just sitting in that diaper the whole year. That's how our year was.
Wow.
It was a bad year.
Oh, Brandon Marshall. He was comparing the Jets' 5-11 season to having a diaper on and never changing it. Mark Schlereth in the house. How we doing?
I'm doing
Happy
great.
New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys. Well, at what point do you stop saying Happy New Year?
I think a while ago at this point.
Whatever.
Really?
Yeah,
You're such a hater.
No, I'm like everyone. I guess if you haven't seen someone yet, but like, what if it's March? Do you still say? You know what I mean?
I haven't seen
like
Mark.
Like the guy that comes up to you at the end of January and gives you the Happy New Year's. Like, it's time.
Listen,
Let's move on.
I was going to wish
move
you
on.
guys
Okay,
happiness,
good.
health, and wealth, and now I have nothing to say to
Okay.
either of you. So I'm going to
Great.
turn to Stephen A.
All right.
Stephen A., is it time to stop taking Brandon Marshall seriously?
Yes, it is. Seriously, it is. And it's not an easy thing for me to say. I'm certainly not trying to insult him in any way. I know Brandon Marshall. He's good people, got a lot of love for him, a lot of things that he's overcome. And I applaud the brother and I respect the hell out of him. But it is time to stop taking him seriously when it comes to him talking about his team, because he's never honest until it's too late. He sits up there and he's the biggest cheerleader for every quarterback imaginable, and I guess you're supposed to be. But whether it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno, Bryce Petty, whatever, he'll have you thinking they're the second coming, just like he had everybody trying to think that Jay Cutler was the second coming. And then all of a sudden, here you are on national television, and now you want to sit up there and wax poetically and candidly about the trials and tribulations. Well, nobody wants to hear it now, because we wanted to hear it when there was something that could have been done about it. And I just think it's one of those situations where he always tries to put a good face on things, even in the face of obvious negativity. And I don't understand that about him sometimes. Sometimes it's best to be real and raw. Maybe not always, but sometimes it's called for. And sometimes I think that's a challenge for him in the latter part of his career.
Was the Jets season being compared to a dirty diaper? Is that not real and raw?
No. I was talking about timing. I'm not saying that it was wrong for him to say it. I'm saying, who cares now? We figured that out 10 weeks ago.
Well, if you ask,
that's what I mean by that. Not that he was wrong.
Right.
Ask a player not named like Richard Sherman something during the season, no questions, and he'll tell you no lies. If you ask a player during the season about his teammates, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, the only way to answer that is to by try to support them as best you can, which is what he does. Season's over. He has a job commenting on football. So now you get the straight dope from Brandon Marshall. I got no problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it either. And as far as, Ryan Fitzpatrick or any of these things, you look at the Jets season, you look at their off season, their inability to secure the quarterback, they're not wanting to pay the quarterback after. And I understand Ryan Fitzpatrick is a journeyman guy, but he had success last season. They won 10 games last season. And that chemistry wasn't there. The offseason wasn't there. There were a lot of things that went awry for the New York Jets. I mean, I go back to the very first game, I believe, of the season when they played the Cincinnati Bengals and sacked Andy Dalton about 7 or 8 times and found a way, I believe, to lose that game, if memory serves correctly. So, I mean, their whole season was an abject disaster. There's no question about it. And it has fallen apart at the seams. And now, all of a sudden, you've got wholesale changes on that coaching staff. I don't see it getting a whole lot better at this point.
I agree with you. But getting back to Brandon Marshall, let me be clear. Other than his rookie year, the only time he didn't have a 1,000-plus yard season was his last year with Jay Cutler and this year. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying again is I have no problem with what he said in terms of how candid he was. Mm-hmm. But he is a guy that not only refuses to be as candid as he could be when it's called for, but he literally wards off those who try to bring that candor, that honesty, which ultimately could steer things in the right direction. He tries to ward that off.
Now imagine you're Brandon Marshall.
Right.
You are an absolute, no question, elite receiver in a league who doesn't get enough credit, by the way, in a league with a ton of amazing receivers. He is a bad dude, has never had a great quarterback throwing the ball.
Let me ask you a question.
And yet remains a really good teammate because he publicly supports
Let me ask you, but that's the problem. Wait a minute, but that's exactly what I believe the problem is. Because it's one thing to support a particular player. What he does is no matter what the situation is, I'm going to say, the sky is blue and the sun is shining. And what I'm trying to say to you is that if you're ever in the business of football, I'm looking at a man right here who's a Super Bowl champion. I'm looking at a man here who didn't have much to say. But damn it, when you spoke, people had to hear what the hell you had to say. You know why? Because there was no BS coming from you. If stuff stunk, even if you're not calling out names, Max, and not isolating anybody, what would have been? Did it ever occur to anybody that had you said earlier on, damn it, we stink. Damn it, we don't need to be waiting and holding out with the quarterback. We need to get this done. I ain't trying to lose.
I'm curious to know what you think about that.
Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't think you're wrong in saying that. I think you have those emotions, but as a player, you just don't ever air them. I think the biggest issue from a leadership standpoint is to have that closed door meeting, to have that behind the curtain meeting, and to be able to air those things out at that particular point in time, but then come out in front of the media and essentially support your guy.
But I think that's wrong. Seriously, I think you're right if I'm talking about Mark Schlereth. Mm-hmm. But if we collectively, not you, if we collectively stink,
right,
and we playing in public, we ain't playing in private now. We're playing in public for everybody to see. Well, what's wrong with stepping up and going like this? Man, we gotta do better. We better than this.
Right.
This is garbage. You ain't pointing a finger at anybody. You're pointing a finger at everybody, meaning yourself and everybody
fair.
else. I'm
Maybe
talking about
he's
that
trying to keep
candidate.
it
That's what I'm
positive.
talking about.
I've always been one of those guys that says, and this is from Teddy Bruschi and the New England Patriots organization, don't point the finger, pull the thumb. I'm never going to be that French waiter guy. We. I'm going to say I have to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do this. You know what? And in doing that, for me, that encompasses the whole team. But I'm going to point the finger at myself.
But isn't
I'm gonna
Brandon
look at
Marshall
myself.
doing that essentially when he praises these less than average quarterbacks who have probably suppressed his numbers, which are generally excellent anyway?
Right.
Isn't he doing that by not calling them out?
You know why he's not doing that, Max? Because by not doing that, that's why you got a problem with the Sheldon Richardsons of the world. Because the Sheldon Richardsons of the world on the defensive side of the ball, who knows that their defense didn't step up and probably stunk this year, they're looking at the fact we on the field all the time. Y'all missed the 3 and outs. Y'all ain't getting
think
anything
if Brandon
done.
Marshall is more critical of the quarterback, they'd be better?
No. What I'm saying to you is that by being praiseworthy and effusive about your quarterback, you're basically looking at other people in the defense and like, damn it, y'all need to handle your business. Had you said we from Jump Street, you might not have had that problem.
He needs to
Basically,
get fed
it's
by that
false
quarterback.
praise, essentially.
No, he's
Mark?
being a good teammate to me. It seems like he's being a good
All
teammate.
right.
I'm not saying he's being a bad teammate. I'm saying that he as great as he is, he cheerleads too much about dudes who don't deserve to be cheerleaded for.
That whole team on this season in particular had issues on every side of the ball. And if a defensive player is mad at his cheerleading, look at yourself, because you guys didn't show up either.
Yeah, his cheerleading bad teammates are a reflection of the fact he's been on teams with bad teammates, and he's still trying to up them.
Speaking of struggling teams, Mark, thank you so much
You
for
got
being
it.
here with us. Appreciate you. Happy New Year, Mark.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Molly.
Whatever.
It's always good to see you.
Good Chip Kelly heading back to school.